Very well. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on your part of the world. My name is Christopher Rind, Kit for short, and I'm the chairman of the Southeast Australia branch of the Nautical Institute. And this is the latest of the next in our series on maritime communications and going digital, where we have the benefit and indeed the privilege of experts from around the world to do a deeper dive into the technology of the future. Now, just a few rules for this in order to make it work better. And here we have a screen which shows the rules for the presentation. We ask you to turn off your microphone and turn off your video. This will enable us to preserve the bandwidth for the presentation. Also, please use the chat function, which you will see in the menu bar, and put in your name and your email. And during the presentation, if you have any questions or comments, please type them in here, and either in real time or at the end of the presentation, I can present those questions to our presenter for today. So just while we're waiting here, please take that time to familiarize yourself with the menu bar, turning off video, turning off microphone until the end of the show, and familiarize yourself with the location of the chat function. Now I'm going to pass you to Gillian, who's the president of the Nautical Institute, of our international organization, who has a quick poll to run by you. Gillian, stopping share now, and over to you.
Thank you very much. Just give me 1 second while I share my screen. And those of you who have participated in our last show will know that we are doing what's called a Menti poll. So if you could pull up your smartphone or open up another window on your computer and go to www.menti.com, enter the code 545406, and state how do you feel about these statements? Digital technology will revolutionize the maritime industry. 5G technology will not be effective for use in the maritime environment, or technology is developing too fast for the industry to keep up. So indicate if you strongly agree or strongly disagree. And once you've done all three of those, don't forget to click submit. So I'll leave those open for a second, and I'm going to give it a try on my phone. So how's the Mentimeter going? Chris, have you been able to do it? Oh, look at that. We're getting some answers in. Okay, let's see a few more. I'll leave it open for just a few more minutes. Let's see what we got. Let me get myself up and running. I'm a little behind everybody here. Oh, look, it's changing. Well, some people think that 5G will be useful. That's kind of cool. I did that. It's a bit tricky, wasn't it? I put it in a negative. I should never put something in the negative that way. I'll just do it for just a few more seconds. Okay, almost there. Let me just do 545406. I'm going to do my own. A few more changes here. And submit. I think this will be the last one that comes in. Excellent. Well, that's really interesting to see. So it's good to know that we still think that technology will revolutionize the industry. And we have that a bit in the middle there about 5G technology. What's going to be interesting is to see how we do at the end if we were to come back to do that. We actually aren't going to look at this one again, but we'll look at another one. So I'll stop sharing that now, and I'll pass it back to you, Kit.
Excellent. Thank you. Coming up and there, and Right, once again, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. It's Hyounhee Koo, who is the CEO of Synchrotech Inc., which is a research and development firm that carries out projects and business related to both local and global standardization activities. And it enables IoT converged services by developing technologies in the fields of public safety and in the maritime domain. Now, Ms. Koo is a rapporteur of the maritime domain and the liaison person between IALA and the 3GPP communities. Now, there's a lot of acronyms there, but they will become more evident as we go. Previously, Ms. Koo worked for LG Electronics and then for Samsung Electronics in the field of mobile communications. And since she received her master's degree in electrical engineering and computer science from Seoul National University in Korea. So, Ms. Koo, I will stop sharing my screen and hand over to you now.
Thank you. Just a moment to share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Everything is okay?
Yes.
Okay, we'll start. Okay. Thank you for having me today and Chairman for introducing me. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I'm Hyounhee Koo from Synctechno. Before starting my presentation, I would like to thank Jillian to give me an opportunity to meet audience by this webinar. I hope that my presentation can make audience today understand what 3GPP is, what 5G is, and what is expected to come for the digital transformation of maritime industry, as well as maritime safety, based on the global collaboration between 3GPP and maritime organizations such as Nautical Institute. Let's get started. This slide shows the contents of my presentation. I assume that most of the audience may not hear about the 3GPP and 5G. So I will do my best to easily explain what 3GPP is and what 5G is. And then I will present what verticals, including maritimes, are for 5G standardization in 3GPP. What is 3GPP? 3GPP stands for Third Generation Partnership Project. Before moving to what 3GPP is in details, I would like to ask these questions to audience. What was your first mobile phones? Mobile phones started to be on market from 1980s, and the generation of mobile phones have been evolved. Mobile phones supporting 3GPP-based technologies started to come out in the world from 2000s. By looking at the history of 3GPP standards-based mobile device, I think audience could realize that you are already close to 3GPP, even if you didn't recognize it. In 1990s, 2G mobile phones were on market. 10 years later, in 2000, 3G mobile phones were on market. 3GPP was formed in 1998. So 3GPP standard-based technologies started to be implemented in those mobile phones. In 2010s, 4G mobile phones started to be on market. As you can figure out, smartphones became popular to enjoy not only voice call and SMS, but also mobile internet and various mobile applications. How about 5G? 5G smartphones are already on market. 5G mobile device will be not only smartphones, but also diverse IoT devices tightly coupled with your lifestyle and societies in the 5G era, no matter where you are. Now, I would like to ask the audience about this question. What term have you heard about? LTE, 5G, LTE-M, NB-IoT, C-V2X, MTC. I assume that some of the audience heard about all of the terminologies described in this slide. However, I assume that few audience know that all of them are technologies developed by 3GPP. So, what is 3GPP? 3GPP is the global standards organization for mobile communication. More than 700 member companies are actively participating from all over the world. 3GPP publish technical specification per release every 15 to 24 months. A new generation of mobile communication comes out every 10 years, which is 3G called as UMTS in 2000s, 4G called as LTE in 2010s, and 5G in 2020s. 3GPP developed standards for all sectors of mobile communications, and activities are driven by contributions from member companies. And 3GPP outcomes are based on consensus from member companies. Details information is available in 3GPP website. This slide describes the 3GPP organization. Technical work occurs across 3 technical specification groups, TSG, RAN, SA, and CT, and 15 specialized working groups under 3 TSGs. There was RAN Working Group 6 in charge of the maintenance of GSM-H and UMTS specification, but 3GPP TSG RAN decided to close RAN Working Group 6 during TSG RAN plenary in last July. It means that 3GPP focus on LTE enhancement and 5G only from now on. This slide describes 3GPP standardization process inside 3GPP. 3GPP developed technical specification per stage. Service requirements are defined in stage 1 specification. Aspects of system architectures are developed in stage 2 specification. And then protocol aspects are developed in stage 3 specification. All works by stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 are completed in releases of typically 15 to 24 months. New specifications issued at the completion of each release. There are relations between 3GPP and ITU in terms of the development of technical specifications. 3GPP develops technical specification for mobile communication systems whose requirements are defined by ITU, IMT vision and requirement. 3GPP organization partners, OP, called as SDO, standards local specification based on the specification developed by 3GPP. The standardization process in each organization partner is only a form of transposition, and that no technical changes from 3GPP technical specifications are introduced. Then ITU publish recommendations as IMT technical specifications that introduce high-level description of air interfaces and refer to STU standards that are transposed from 3GPP technical specifications. So far, I provided the brief presentation on what 3GPP is. I hope that audience understood 3 things, though there are many things that 3GPP are involved in. First, 3GPP is the global standard organization for mobile communication, such as LTE and 5G. Second, 3GPP developed diverse enabling technologies, such as NB-IoT. Third, 3GPP technical specifications become ITU recommendations as IMT technical specifications by the transposition as STO's local specifications. And now I would like to present what 5G is. I assume that some of the audience think that 5G is under standardization and does not come to us in real world. However, 92 commercial 5G networks are deployed in 38 countries, though 5G devices are rare compared to LTE devices around us. In order to see what 5G is, I would like to introduce IMT usage scenarios to recognize the difference between IMT 2000, IMT Advanced, and IMT 2020. ITU introduced 3 5G usage scenarios in IMT 2020 vision: massive machine type communication and ultra reliable and low latency communications. 2 usage scenarios were considered in addition to enhanced mobile broadband. That was the only usage scenario of IMT 2000 and IMT Advanced. 5G work in 3GPP could be described as 2 columns: the smartphone evolution, but also the industrial revolution and the service enabling for a wide range of industries called as the verticals. The real kick, the real revolutionary thing with 5G is the industrial revolution with 5G as a service enabler. That means that 3GPP are offering the 5G mobility platform not only to smartphone users, but for a wide range of industries that can interconnect via 5G network. 3GPP continue to develop enhanced service enabling technologies based on service-centric transformed system architecture to satisfy various demands from a wide range of industries that are moving to their digital transformation of 5G system, and in the end, to satisfy ITU IMT 2020 requirement. IMT 2020 requirement will be satisfied by 5G system that supports the integration of multi-radio access technologies Wi-Fi, mobile, and satellite. 5G brings another major technology step with the creation with a new radio NR. Unlike with 4G, where 3GPP hesitated to join the generational march onward beyond 3G. 3GPP have embraced the alignment of the industry on NR and on LTE Advanced Pro to provide 5G from 3GPP release 15 onwards. I will not explain each enabling technology defined in technical specification from release 15, release 16, release 17 today. However, I believe we could have another opportunity to share those technologies in the future. This slide describes 5G standardization timelines in 3GPP. Release 15 specifications called as 5G Phase 1 were published in March 2019. In Release 15, we looked at the smartphone revolution. We looked at how to give the current customers their services, which are more bandwidth, more reliability, security, and so on. Release 16 specification called as 5G Phase 2 were published in July 2020. Release 16 is a major release for 5G project, not least because it brings IMT 2020 submission for an initial full 3GPP 5G system to its completion. 3GPP have embraced the alignment of the industries on NR and on LTE Advanced Pro to provide 5G from 3GPP release 15 onwards. In other words, enhanced LTE will continue to be evolving as 5G is evolving. Now I will present what vertical is. People out of 3GPP used to wonder what verticals means because the term vertical is always with 5G description in 3GPP. 3GPP does not provide the official definition on what verticals is. However, verticals are assumed to mean a wide range of industries that are moving for their industrial revolution by digital transformation with 5G as a service enabler. Public safety domain is one example of 5G verticals. Public safety domain needs 5G enabling technologies to enable the communication among mobile devices, even if the loss of network connection happens, and to enable the communication between mobile device and isolated networks disconnecting from the core networks. Such 5G enabling technologies are expected to be specified in 3GPP specification from release 17 onwards. Once those 5G enabling technologies are developed, they are expected to be applicable for maritime usages as well, though it may need to be checked if any additional works are necessary to be carried out for better optimized maritime communication services over 5G systems. automotive domain is one of the popular 5G verticals. 3GPP have been developing enabling technologies in subsequent releases from release 13 to provide features required for automotive driving step by step. More advanced use cases are considered from NR-based CVTX compared to LTE-based CVTX. Most of 5G enabling technologies specified for NR-based CVTX are expected to be applicable for maritime usages, though it may need to be checked if any additional works are necessary to be carried out for better optimized maritime communication services over 5G systems. Smart factory domain is one of the popular 5G verticals as well. 3GPP have been developing 5G enabling technologies in subsequent release from release 16. Most of 5G enabling technologies specified for smart factory are expected to be applicable for maritime usages, especially the communication inside a huge vessel, though it may need to be checked if any additional work are necessary to be carried out for better optimized maritime communication services over 5G systems. Satellite domain is one of the 5G verticals, and 3GPP is working to develop specification in release 17. Once the satellite access is included as one of the 3GPP radio access technologies from release 17, it is expected that more various maritime services scenarios are considered by 3GPP works for the development of 5G enabling technologies that are more optimized for maritime communication services. 3GPP takes cross-industry service harmonization approach for 5G standardization in order to secure the economy of scale of 3GPP standards-based products, regarded as one of the big benefits by verticals. This slide shows the example of cross-industry service harmonization approach. The direct communication among devices is called as side link and process in 3GPP. Several verticals need such a direct communication. So 3GPP is working to develop side link and process enabling technologies to support usages from various verticals. Finally, I would like to present Maritime as a 5G vertical. I assume that most of the audience are aware of what IMO is doing for the digital transformation of maritime domain. In addition to IMO, ITU and 3GPP are doing works for the digital transformation of maritime domain. I would like to introduce 3GPP works for maritime domain. 3GPP developed 3G and 4G specification to satisfy IMT 2000 and IMT advanced requirement for terrestrial mobile communication systems defined by ITU. How about 5G? 3GPP has been developing specification of 5G systems operating in multi-environments, no matter where it is, because IMT 2020 requirements presume not only terrestrial, but also non-terrestrial environments for mobile communications defined by ITU. Compared to other 5G verticals, what should be first addressed in 3GPP to support maritime communication services over 5G systems? Inclusion of a maritime domain in the scope of 3GPP standardization. The feasibility study FS Macron was first proposed by ThinkTechno in August 2016 in 3GPP SA Working Group 1. The proposed study FS Macron was approved in September 2016 to start the feasibility study on the support of maritime communication services over 5G system by developing use cases of maritime services and driving potential requirements over 5G. The outcome of feasibility study FS Macron, Technical Report 22.819, was approved in June 2018 by completing FS Macron study. In order to start normative work for stage 1 requirement based on the conclusion of Technical Report 22.819, ThinkTechno proposed the work item Macron in May 2018 in 3GPP SA Working Group 1. The proposed work item Macron was approved in June 2018 to specify normative requirements in stage 1 specification. The outcome of the normative work, Macron 22.119, was approved in December 2018 by completing Macron work. Totally 2 years and 5 months took to officially include maritime domain as 5G vertical in the scope of 3GPP standardization from release 16 onwards by completing the study FS Macron and the work Macron. This slide shows the contents of a technical specification 22.119 specific for maritime usages. General 5G requirement specified for other technical specifications are also applicable for maritime usages as well, though additional works are expected to be carried out to provide better optimized performance for maritime communication services over 5G. In order to help audience understand the 3GPP stage 1 works to specify service requirement, I would like to introduce the one example on how stage 1 requirement on KPI for direct communication between vessels is specified in 22.119. This potential requirement was defined by studying the use case talk service during FS Macron. The feasibility of supporting direct communication between vessels over 5G system was verified by several use cases during FS Macron study phase. The consolidated potential requirement in Technical Report 22.819 provided the justification to start the stage 1 normative work. Stage 1 normative requirement was defined in 22.119 during Marcom work phase based on the global collaboration with maritime organizations such as ILA in order to reflect the view from experts of maritime communication out of 3SPP. "5G enabling technologies specified in 3SPP from release 16 onwards are applicable to maritime usages, even if it may not be optimized for maritime usages. Further works are expected to be continued from release 18 onwards to standardize enhanced features that enable 5G systems to support rich maritime communication services. 3GPP standard-based solutions can be one of very powerful and beneficial tools for the realization of the digitalization and mobilization of a maritime domain, such as autonomous ship, smart port, or maritime smart logistics, as well as maritime safety. There are a lot more to do. There are social interactions that 3GPP have to take into account. One of the biggest barriers is the terminology or the language barrier, where people are using the same terms as the 3GPP use in telecommunication, but they have a totally different view or background on them. 3GPP need to learn to understand and then to interact with each other. Driving force of 5G standardization for maritime domain is 3GPP participation of maritime industries and the collaboration between maritime domain and 3GPP domain. Thank you, the webinar audience, for listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Koo. That, wow, there's a lot there, and I can see just at what level your company has been involved in this and what it means for. I have a few questions to ask here, and I'm live on the Zoom group chat if anybody else has further questions to ask. Thank you for explaining verticals, and I think that came through for me. What we're thinking here is that in the maritime application, we're looking at between ships, ship to shore, and then in container ports for the organization of loading. Between ships, would that be direct communication, or would it be via satellite, or both?
Both the scenarios are considered. And in case of satellite, I assume that it will be supported in a few years, because 3GPP specification is working in release 17, which is now. In case of direct communication between vessels, I think 3GPP now working to develop, as I mentioned, the side link and process applicable for various verticals. But considering the service scenario at sea for the communication between vessels, I think that there will be some point to be checked to see whether additional enabling technology need to be developed in addition to what 3GPP is developing now for side link and process in 5G.
Okay, right. I have another question here, and I can see the question runs like this. I can see great usage for VTS areas and the Internet of Things, sharing data sensors from the vessel to the shore, i.e. optimizing fuel consumption, where data that can be read from the ship's sensors can be seen on shore. How does that sound to you?
Sorry. I missed your saying the first part.
The first part was using vessel traffic systems, and also for the internet use on board ship. So that's two things. First, vessel traffic, that is the control from shore to ship of vessels using 5G and the 3GPP protocols, but also the on board the ship, there are many sensors. It may be fuel consumption, it may be environmental conditions and so forth. And these would be read directly from sensors and may be visible ashore via this technology?
I think as I briefly explained, I think the current scenario 3GPP working for smart factory could be applied for the sensors communication inside the vessel. And then how can I say? In case of a smart factory, we call the private networks. So it communicated with the public network. Yeah, I think my explanation might be too difficult to understand, but I try. So I think such a scenario could be considered already in 3GPP by other verticals. But considering vessels are continue to moving, we need to think about the scenarios to see whether additional enabling technology need to be specified to support the moving characteristic of a vessel.
Right. I have a question here from Mr. Love in the United Kingdom. He says, how is this going to be paid for? Infrastructure today is operated as a commercial network for consumer use. So a user coming from Australia, coming into Rotterdam, has to have a roaming agreement, question mark.
Now, 3GPP started to look into roaming scenarios because of the inclusion of a satellite. Because before satellites come to 3GPP, some separated policy could be agreeable by operators per country, depend on their regulatory policy, etc. But once satellite come to 3GPP, and we realized that we need to look into the legacy roaming policy and procedure defined in 3GPP. So I think 3GPP, I believe 3GPP will find out the solution to support such a roaming scenario of crossing several countries in the end.
Right, okay, so that would be a commercial arrangement for roaming when the mariner moves from one country or the ship moves from one country to another. Some sort of roaming agreement.
Yeah, I will try to explain again. Yeah, that is true as well. I mean, how could I say? So far, roaming agreements were made because operators could specify their territories where they are controlled. But in case of satellite covered very diverse, very many countries, which need different approach from what 3GPP took in the past. So it is not yet concluded. 3GPP is working to look into how we need to improve such a roaming policies, assuming the satellite also supported over several countries. So I think once such a solutions are defined, and then it could be applicable when vessels moving through several countries based on the new kind of a new policy between roaming agreement by operators.
Right. Okay. So satellite, and these would be new generation satellites which have the technology to handle 5G.
You mean you? I think it depends on how could I say? Yeah, because the satellite industries are now working to develop the new radio interface that are compatible with the 5G. Because so I think so because of the satellite industries working to provide some, how could I say, interworking with the legacy satellite as well when they launch the satellite based on 5G technology.
Right. I'm going to hand over to Gillian, and I'm sure she has some questions of her own there. Gillian.
Well, thank you very much. I've just been watching some of the discussion that's going on in the chat as well. It's been getting very active. I think we all have a lot of questions. I had one question about, more specifically about how the NI could work with 3GPP, which has been responded to. There's some discussion also about, from Case, he has a really good comment about the advantages of 5G application pilotage. And I believe there was a situation where a vessel had to be piloted through the Panama Canal because of COVID, so nobody could go on board. But they didn't actually have sensor data coming to them. So that would be maybe an opportunity to make it safer. There was a question with regards to, I think I had a question in here that was, what release is 5G ready for satellite? Did you answer that one already? Which release of 5G?
Release 17, we are working now.
Okay, very good. And what we'll do now is I'm going to move into, if you have any further questions, please just put them in the chat box and we'll come to them later, but I'm going to move into one more Menti question. So remember the Menti that you had before. I'll just go to the next slide here on Menti. Let's just get back here. I'm just making my Menti move to the next slide. And if you refresh your Menti at the same code number that you had, and I will put on the sharing the screen. Here we go. And let's take a look. What are the challenges of going digital? Put 3 words down and then don't forget to click submit. So put 3 words down and don't forget to click submit. If you already had Menti open on your phone or some other item, you just have to refresh your Menti. So I'm just going to go and refresh my Menti. Enter a word. There we are. And let's think of another one. And we're getting some there. Look at that compatibility. Compatibility and standards are actually quite similar. I think I spelled compatibility wrong when I put mine up. Acceptance, standards, compatibility, weather. Oh, that's interesting about the weather. Fear, cost. Now, this is very different to last time, isn't it? Let's take a look at this. Uptake, RF bandwidth, I'm going to leave it a few more. We've got actually 24 on the call, so I might leave until we get at least half of us have responded. Oh, it's exciting. I like that word, exciting. Cost and standards. Standardization, very high. Stability. Let's see if we can get any more. Just a few more coming in there. This weather at sea, and I guess maybe that's a question for Hyounhee. Is there an impact of weather at sea on, for example, 3GPP technology, such as we have with radio technologies? I'll let it go just for a few seconds while that answers.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not only for the maritime communication, in other area as well, because if, for example, if there are very heavy storm or whatever, digital communication have some drawbacks. So that is what I want to point out with the weather, actually, not only for the maritime communication.
Okay, very good. And there's some really good words that have popped up here. I'm going to close out the Menti now. So if you've got one more, I'll leave it, well, I'll turn off my screen, but I'll leave it open for a few more. Very interesting to see the responses from this presentation. And we did the same question at the last presentation. The winner of all of the main words was standardization. Now for this one, we're getting to cost. Backward compatibility has popped up there now as well. I like that, the fact some people think it's exciting, but there's also fear and the need for acceptance, community acceptance and acceptance. So that's wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to pass back to Mr. Chairman.
Some more questions coming through here, Hyounhee. I believe first from Pierre, who says they're operating a system not unlike this in the port of Le Havre, is it? I'm just going to take us to, one moment, please. Yes, Le Havre Port provides maritime experimental platform for 5G apps. That's most interesting. Ms. Koo, is there any other ports, and what do you know of this this experimental platform in Le Havre?
You mean in the port, right?
In the port, yes, for operating maritime within the port area.
I used to find out some YouTube showing their trial deploying 5G for the faster operation in the port area, and also some container control at the port. So, but I didn't check whether they completed the trial mode and started to the real commercial part. But considering that in order to support, how say that, a very fancy port service using 5G, I think more enabling technologies need to be developed by 3GPP. So I think considering such a situation, I think some of implementation were made by kind of application level implementation rather than network level implementation. So yeah, I hope, I'm not sure whether this answer is.
I've posted two questions to you on the chat function. Could you please answer those? It's the first about LTT Maritime as tried in Korea, and then about compatibility with a communication called Starlink.
You mean Sidelink?
I have Starlink here. See your chat function, please, and the two questions are in text.
Side, how could I say? Starlink, so just.
No. Okay.
Okay. In terms of the question, will 5G be compatible with the systems such as Starlink? I think it depends on the contribution from member company. Because as I said, the 3GPP standardizations are driven by contribution from member companies who attend the 3GPP. So if the feasibility of supporting such interoperation with Starlink. So first, 3GPP need to check the feasibility to support such a compatibility with Starlink. Once it is verified, and then 3GPP need the contribution from member companies to develop such enabling technology to support such a interworking as a Starlink. So it really depends on the demand and the requirement from the stakeholders related to Starlink.
Right. So companies have to participate in the 3GPP in order to get a seat at the table and to have compatibility considered.
Yeah, because the 3GPP already provide some interworking with the other systems. For example, in the public safety domain, we provided some interoperation between 3GPP system and Tetra system, which is the legacy public safety network. So depending on the stakeholders' interest and depending on the participation from those parties, and then we could work on that if it is necessary and it is required from many interesting parties.
Thank you, Ms. Koo. We have just a couple of minutes left, and if there are any further questions from our participants that have not been answered, we can forward those to Ms. Koo afterwards and ask if she would consider their response. May I just say thank you very much for participating in our forum today and sharing with us your expertise in an area which I had only dimly glimpsed at a distance in the past. So I'm much better informed now, and at least it opens me up to further inquiry as a result of your presentation. So thank you very much indeed, Ms. Koo. And Gillian, have you anything further?
I just wanted to say, as per always at the end of our webinars, we like everyone to put their cameras on just for a second so we can do a screen capture. Thank you all for attending the Nautical Institute Southeast Australia branch webinar series. We do have another webinar in planning, and the presentation is tentatively on the 26th of August with Martin Bransby presenting on e-Polaris, which is actually now BioNav. Hello, Stefan, you've got a group there. And so this will be a very interesting presentation on a practical application of a digital technology. And let me put my screen on now too. I'm talking and I'm not looking. We're missing a few people still. And Jing, unfortunately, you came right at the very end, but it was great to have you there. I hope you weren't waiting too long. It's wonderful to see some familiar faces there. I'll give you a few seconds to put up your screens, cameras. I'll try doing a screen capture. Somebody else do it as well, because I'm always a little bit floppy on my screen captures. Derek, are you not going to put your camera on? No, I guess not, eh? It's great to see you all, and just give a quick picture. I've got two screens here, so I'm doing a picture on my camera because my screen capture probably isn't going to work. And how can I do a picture without my camera getting into the picture? That's a tough one, eh? Thank you everybody for participating, and we hope to see you back again in a couple of weeks' time when we do our next presentation on the e-Polaris, or now it's actually being marketed and being sold as the BioNav And Martin Bransby will be giving us that presentation from the UK. If you have an interesting digital technology and you would like to provide a presentation as part of our series, please contact the Nautical Institute Southeast Australia. And I think right now I'll get Kit to say, can you put your screen up with the email address for the Secretary of the Nautical Institute Southeast Australia?
Sure, just give me a moment on that, Gillian.
And I would love to say thank you very much, Hyounhee, for providing this presentation. It was very enlightening. This has been live streamed on our branch Facebook page, so it is available for review there. And it has also been recorded, so we will be putting this up on a YouTube page linked to the Nautical Institute Southeast Australia. It might be on my YouTube page. If you're already signed to my YouTube page, that's great. If you aren't, I'd love to have you signed up. I'm trying to go for 100 names. If I get 100 names, I can change the name on my YouTube page. Very personal reason to do that. So thank you very much from me. And I think Kit's just going to put, do you want me to put it up or do you have it there?
Yeah, you put it up, Gillian.
Okay, are you having trouble finding it again?
Yes, I am.
I had a feeling you might be. Okay, I'll put it up and we'll just give up our email address so that you know where we're at. And it would be wonderful for you to provide your feedback through the email system as well. The email address is actually for our secretary. And let me just go here. I'll just share my screen. I'll put this on one screen. I've got too many screens going, so don't mind me. And I'll make that smaller so I can see to share my screen. There we go. Now you should be able to see my screen, I hope now. I'm sharing it now. And our next deeper dive into technology would be the EUPOLOR, so the BioNav. The date to be confirmed, but the 26th of August has been discussed, and looking to have Martin Bransby, head of the R&D of the General Lighthouse Authorities UK and Ireland, present that. There's our email address. If you address to SEC, secretary at nisea.org, that will get to the branch, and we'd love to hear from you, your feedback on the webinar series and any ideas, or perhaps you have something that you'd love to hear about that we haven't been able to present yet. Back to you, Kit.
Lovely. Thank you all for attending. And Ms. Koo, thank you very much for presenting on this very technical subject that is at the cutting edge of maritime communications. So thank you once again. Goodbye.
Thank you. My pleasure.